All right, let's talk about something I'm sure every developer has felt the pain of: wrestling with messy spreadsheets and trying to match data by hand. It's a nightmare, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to roll up our sleeves and actually architect a system to automate the whole thing. We're talking about a real deal matchmaking engine built in JavaScript and some other really clever tools that gets you to perfect data alignment completely automatically.
So let's jump right in. To really get why this scripted approach is such a game changer, you've got to first appreciate the chaos it's designed to replace.
And here it is, plain and simple. The difference is just night and day. On one side, you've got the manual method, which is basically a minefield of copy-paste errors, version control disasters, and a process that just completely grinds to a halt as soon as your data starts to grow. But on the other side, you have a system that's built on scripted logic. And look, it's not just an improvement, it's a totally different, way more resilient way to operate.
Okay, so how do we actually build this thing? Well, it all comes down to getting the right tech stack to work together in perfect harmony. Let's meet the core components, the cast, if you will, that makes all this automated matchmaking magic happen.
You know, everything has to start with a clean entry point. For this, we're using Softr, which is a fantastic no-code platform that lets us whip up a really polished, user-facing portal in no time. Think of it as our front door. It's what captures new profiles and shoots that data right into our system, kicking off the entire automated workflow.
And right here, this is the brain of the whole operation. We're actually running JavaScript directly inside an Airtable script. Now, if you haven't used it, Airtable is basically a superpowered database that looks and feels like a spreadsheet. Its scripting block lets us write custom logic that sifts through all our records to find that perfect match. This is where we lay down the rules of the game.
So once our script does its job and flags a match, Airtable's own built-in GUI automations take the baton. This part is our orchestrator. It's constantly watching for the output from our script, and then it triggers the next steps in the chain, like, say, creating a new linked record over in our matches table. It just seamlessly connects our custom code to the rest of the workflow. Okay, we've logged a match. Now we've got to tell the people involved, right? That's the job of our delivery path. We can use a service like SendGrid, which will automatically fire off personalized connection alert emails. It even pulls data straight from the matched records to make the email super relevant and useful. It's what closes the loop. And of course, any good system needs a control tower. So using Softr again, we can build out a secure, private admin vault. And this isn't just some vanity dashboard, it's our mission control. From here, we can monitor match volume, keep an eye on API usage, and just generally check the system's health. It gives us the full picture we need to scale up responsibly. All right, so we've messed our cast of components. Now let's see how they all work together in sequence. We're going to map the entire journey of the data, step by step, from the second a user hits submit, all the way to that final email landing in their inbox. The whole process is this really clean 4-step flow. First step is ingestion. This is where clean, structured data comes into our Airtable base. Then comes the critical triage step. That's where our custom script does the heavy lifting and runs its logic. Next is creation, where any successful match gets officially logged as a new record. And finally, notification, which automates all the outreach. Simple as that. But hold on, let's pause here for a second. That second step, triage, that's where the real smarts of our system live. I mean, it's more than just a cool buzzword. How does that JavaScript matchmaker actually figure out what a perfect match even is? Let's zoom in and take a look under the hood at that logic. So the script runs this really rigorous 3-stage validation. First, it does a simple but super important pre-flight check. It filters for all records that are currently marked active. This is just to avoid wasting any processing power on entries that aren't even available. Second, and this is the core logic, it checks for specialization overlap. This is where you can get really creative, writing logic to compare arrays of skills or score industry relevance or maybe match seniority levels. And then finally, it just confirms that their communication preferences line up. Only a record that passes through all 3 of those gates gets validated as a perfect match. So we have the logic, we have the flow. But, building a system that just works, that's not really enough, is it? We need to build it so it's robust, so it's scalable, and so it's secure. Let's talk about some of the best practices to make sure your implementation is totally enterprise ready. Here are 3 huge enhancements. First, asset linking. You can actually code your script to automatically go and pull relevant documents or links from a resources table. This adds a ton of value to your notification emails. Second, proactive admin oversight. You really want to use your vault to watch those key metrics so you can see scaling needs coming before they become problems. And third, and this one is absolutely non-negotiable, data security. Always use secure protocols between your services and always practice the principle of least privilege. Your script should only have the permissions it absolutely needs to do its job and not an ounce more. When you combine this tech stack, this multi-stage logic, and these best practices, what you get is way more than just an efficient process. You achieve perfect alignment through automated authority. You've actually built a system that works with intelligence, precision, and security baked right into its core.
So yeah, this architecture is incredibly powerful. And as you've seen, it's totally something you can implement yourself. The real question isn't if automation is the future, but how you're going to architect it to be smart, scalable, and secure.